Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And today I have for you another Audible book series that I recently purchased with my credit. And this is one that it's 5 books for 1 credit, which I thought was a really great deal. So I decided to take a chance on it, and it is called Mage's Influence. And I will add a picture of it because I cannot show it to you at the moment. But it is very interesting. I finished book 1, and I think I'm like a quarter of the way through book 2. It's like 35 hours long. So it's something that I've been listening to gradually over time at work. So like some days I didn't feel like listening to it, so I didn't. But I am on book 2, and it's basically, the premise of this book series is it's about Cadence and Airlie, and they are sisters. Airlie is 19 years old, and Cadence is 16, going on 17. And she and her sister both have, like, the magic system in this series is kind of different because it's like they all have a seed inside of them, essentially. And they all have different, like, categories or power differences in their seeds. And Cadence and Airlie is really powerful. They don't find that out until, like, a little bit into the first book. So in the first book, it starts off with Cadence, like, going berry picking, and that's kind of where it kicked off, like, the very beginning. And that's where it really caught my attention. So I'm glad that I used my credit on it, because I had, like, sampled it, and then I was like, okay, I think I could listen to this. So it starts off with Cadence, and she's berry picking, and she notices that her and Airlie's house is on fire, I think. And so she goes to investigate what's going on. She leaves the berries behind, and she tries to figure out what's going on. And Airlie and Airlie and Cadence live by themselves. Their mom and dad have passed away. Their dad was really sick for a while, and he passed away before Airlie turned 19, I think. And you're supposed to be able to be activated. That's what they call the magic in this realm. They say you get activated. So you're supposed to be able to activate your seed when you turn 17. But her father was too sick to activate Airlie, so he had passed away. So Airlie kind of tricked someone to activate her. She tricked one of the more experienced power mages. Like, that's one of the categories of magic, is power. So there's this really powerful mage who comes to rescue them, and he gets tricked into activating Airlie. And so Airlie is more powerful than this mage who had activated her. So they get whisked off into this kingdom called Tortua. It's sort of sounds like Tortuga, so I think that's why I remember it. So they get whisked off to this town or kingdom called Tortua. So it's kind of weird because there's all these different realms in the book, and I don't think we've explored all of them yet. So there's Tortua with the princess and monarch system, sort of. And then there's another town called Nicobar, and they're like a tribe, but they also have like a monarch type of system. So the first book was kind of confusing because it was all these like magic building, world building type of things. But Cadence is supposed to be like weaker than her sister Airlie. She doesn't have a strong seed, I guess is the way that it's put. So she's kind of like the lesser sister. So it kind of made me think of Elsa and Anna, because Elsa has these special powers and Anna is just a normal person. And they kind of give me Elsa and Anna vibes. So that's kind of why I enjoy it so far and why I've stuck with it. because the first book, it kind of had my attention, and then in the middle I kind of got bored, and then towards the end I kind of enjoyed it more, and then the second book is a lot better, actually. The second book is a lot better than the first book, I will say that. So if you get into this book series, which I recommend buying the full series with 1 credit because I think that's a really good deal. But the first book is definitely very weak, I think. Like, it's all about Airly, and it's all about how she's so powerful, and she has to protect the people from this power. I don't even know what she's really protecting them from, but she's like the most powerful power mage they've had in a long time, and then in the middle, it's kind of just boring because it's like, yeah, we get it, Airly's powerful, and Cadence is like weak, and Cadence kind of feels sorry for herself, and she meets all these different kids. She meets Gia and Nicholas, and she figures out that they're the royals in this town, Tortua, and that Gia is meant to be the queen, even though she doesn't want to be. And then she's the heir, Nicholas is not. So Nicholas and Cadence are kind of in the same boat in that respect, where their siblings are like more highly regarded than them. And so it's kind of like going through what makes Cadence so special, what makes Cadence like worthy, because Cadence kind of feels unworthy throughout the book. And I kind of feel bad for her because I really like Cadence. I thought she's an interesting character. And then she meets Gia and Nicholas, and they become kind of like her best friends. And Gia's very sweet. Nicholas is kind of an ass, sort of. He's not very nice. But Gia's really nice. I like Gia a lot. But I could do without Nicholas. I think he's kind of like I said, he's kind of an ass. But, so yeah. And then we meet Zeke and Cadence kind of have a crush on each other in the first book. But then Airly kind of notices Zeke trying to come on to her sister, and she tries to protect her sister by saying, why are you trusting this man or this boy when he's trying to use you, and stuff like that. And Airly has a really hard time trusting people. And that's also kind of what made me think of Frozen too, because Frozen... Elsa is like, why are you marrying this man when you just met him, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like Cadence is kind of like Anna in that sense, where she is drawn to Zeke, but she doesn't really know him that well. And he's very charming like Hans, but he doesn't end up being like Hans, which is good. So I think that was also a redeeming quality of the first book, is like Cadence and Zeke's budding romance type of thing. Because in the second book, they are more romantically involved, and we figure out that Cadence is actually really powerful. She's more powerful than Airly, and we figure that out towards the end of the first book, and it kind of goes into the second book more with like trying to figure out why is there, because in this first book, in the end, they realize there's tainted magic in the area, and they're trying to figure out who is the problem. Why is there such a problem with this tainted magic? Because it's like killing people, I guess. And then Airly gets kidnapped towards the end. So that's where it was like, it got more interesting towards the end, because Airly is kidnapped and Cadence figures out she's really more powerful than Airly, and she has to get activated by Zeke. And Zeke is a plant mage. So Cadence is kind of like a power mage and a plant mage now, because if you get activated by someone who's a different category than you, you kind of get their influence a little bit with what your main power is. So Cadence is kind of like a power plant mage, essentially. And she can sense bad things with her magic. And she's trying to figure out who's causing this bad magic in the raid and stuff like that. I don't know, it's a lot to explain so far. There's like a lot that happened in the first book, and I'm only a quarter of the way through the second book, so I don't really have the full picture yet of what's going on. But I know that Zeke and Cadence, their romance gets fully realized in the second book. So, like, they tell each other that they like each other, and they kiss and stuff. And Zeke kind of wants to marry Cadence because he wants her to rule beside him in his tribe so that they can take back their status, I guess, because their tribe is sort of on the weaker end right now, I think. So he's trying to get Cadence to form an alliance with him, and I think eventually get married. And I think Zeke's like 18 or something, so I don't know how soon it's gonna happen where they get married, but I'm assuming maybe by the 5th book they might. I don't know. Because right now, I finished book 1, I'm on book 2, so I have 3 more books to go. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of happy I spent my credit on it, but I'm also kind of like, meh. Because it's sort of interesting, but then some parts I'm like, why did I buy this? And then other parts I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I bought this. Because it sort of feels more juvenile than I had anticipated it being. Which is funny, coming from someone who is reading the Click series, which is about 12-year-old girls. And that doesn't feel as juvenile as this book series, which is about literal, like, almost adults. So I don't know, maybe my book gauge is off in terms of what I find juvenile versus not juvenile. But some of the parts in the book, I was like actively cringing because I'm like, well, that seems kind of embarrassing, and I feel embarrassed for Cadence. Or I felt embarrassed for Airly. Or like, I don't understand why they're getting upset because it's really not that big of a deal. Some of the problems in this book also, or like some of the conflict also feels forced. Like I don't really understand what's going on necessarily. But that might change as like the books go on. Because right now, I think they're trying to get Airly back from being captured. But it's like really drawn out. And I thought they would have had her back by now, but they don't. And I don't know, I might have to do another video on this when I'm fully done with it, because right now I only have like a very small capture of what's going on in like the full range of the series, because I don't truly know what's going on really. So I don't know, my thoughts on it so far is I think I would give it a 3.5. I might give it a 3. I don't know. I'm kind of regretting using my credit on it, but at some parts it's really good. I'm kind of just forcing myself to listen to it because I spent a credit on it, and I want to at least get my money's worth out of it, I guess. But I think I'm going to consider this part 1. This video will be part 1, because I think the more that I'm listening, the more I think I'll understand, because I've read reviews on it on Goodreads, and I read that people think the book 1 is the weakest, book 2 is better. I think people have said the book series gets progressively better the more that you listen to it. So I'm holding out hope that maybe my 3-star will turn into a 4-star. Well, right now it's a 3-star, but I'm going to consider this the Mage's Influence part 1, and I will do part 2 when I finish this book series, and I'm going to try and listen to it all next week at work. I'm going to just suck it up and try and get through the sludgy parts, because I think I'm at an interesting part right now, but I just didn't feel like listening to it for whatever reason last week. But I think I could probably get it done in the 3 days that I'm at work next week. So yeah, I'm going to consider this part 1 of the Mage's Influence, and I am going to loosely recommend it if you enjoy like really hardcore world building, because that's like one of the strong points of this book is its great world building. And I like Cadence as a character so far, and I like Airly as a character too. So I think the characters are strong. It just feels like the plot is kind of like muddled so far. But I think that's just because I'm not as far into it as I hoped I would be. So this is also going to be a shorter video, which is not unfortunate, I guess, because most of my videos have been like 20-25 minutes long, and this one seems like it's going to clock out at 14, maybe 15 minutes. But so yeah, that's kind of what I'm reading right now, and I'm hoping I'm going to have it finished and then I can make part 2 for this video. But as always, I appreciate you watching, and I hope that you're enjoying these videos because I sincerely enjoy making content, and I'm really happy to be a part of the book influencer world, even if I'm not very interactive. I've kind of given up on my Instagram for the time being, but I'm gonna hope to get back into that. So I'm gonna try and be more active on social media because I think that might help my YouTube channel. But I just appreciate all my subscribers that I have, and thank you for watching my videos. And please comment down below if you would like to have a discussion with me about any books, not just the book I'm talking about. And just thank you for your support, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends!